Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well. So welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, I'm going back to my CD collection, existing CD collection, but it's also doubling up as an episode of Ranking Discographies, because the band I'm actually going to talk about today is my favorite rock band of all time, KISS. So KISS probably need no introduction. Really famous American hard rock band, hard rock / heavy metal. I'll go into that more a bit later. But they're so iconic because of their kabuki style makeup, which was, inspired by Japanese culture, I think. But they've become so iconic even to people who don't listen to the music. But that also raises another issue. I think a lot of people have often said that the band is image over substance. I completely disagree. I think the music is completely hooky and catchy, at least for me. So that's why they're my favorite rock band. And I'll talk about how the style changed a bit as the episode progresses. But like I said, this is an episode of mini ranking discographies, because if you look at KISS's entire career, it spanned across 50 years and only ended last year. And during that time, there were a lot of albums. I think I didn't research this beforehand, but I think maybe 18 or 19. So what I've decided to do is split up my KISS collection into different eras or decades. So my episode of Ranking Discographies today is going to be focusing on 70s KISS. So all of the albums released in the 70s, and that's appropriate because all of the 70s albums contained the 4 original members, and then from 1980 onwards there were lineup changes. So to that end, I'm not going to include 1980s Unmasked, because I know technically that's part of the 70s decade, I think, but of course by that stage, Peter Criss, the drummer, had left the band and was replaced by ghost drummer Anton Fig and then later Eric Carr. So I'm only doing up to 1979 today. So during that time, they released, amazingly, 7 studio albums, and that's excluding live albums and solo albums. So today I'm just focusing on the studio albums. So Alive 1 and 2 came out in the 70s, not talking about them today. The same with the solo albums. And I don't own all of those, so these are just the studio albums. All right, so I'm not going to go into the history of the band. You can look that up, of course. But yes, you probably know the band sort of formed. I remember Gene Simmons said the band formed using the Beatles blueprint, in the sense they were like a heavier, louder version of the Beatles. The blueprint in the sense that there were 4 members, and the bass player and the rhythm guitar player were the primary songwriters and vocalists, but also the lead guitarist sang some songs and the drummer sang some songs. So yes, let's introduce the members just very quickly. You probably all know it. So it was Paul Stanley, the star child, on rhythm guitar and vocals, Gene Simmons on bass and vocals, Ace Frehley, lead guitar and vocals, and Peter Criss on drums and vocals. And yeah, so Gene Simmons was the Demon, Ace Frehley was the Spaceman or Space Ace, and Peter Criss was the Catman. Yeah, everyone knows this. So, looking at the 70s albums today, remember it is my ranking. So some people might get upset with my list, but remember it's my list. These are my personal choices. And how about you tell me yours? How would you rank these albums? But having said that, I will say even with the ones that come down the bottom, I still really like those albums. I think every KISS album has at least a few worthwhile songs, but these 70s albums I'm talking about today, I like all of them. So it was really hard to rank, in the sense that I do enjoy them, but just there are ones that I like more than others. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. 7 albums, so going from least favorite to most favorite. But like I said, least favorite I still really like. So coming in at number 7 is Hotter Than Hell from 1974. So first of all, I can imagine people are already shocked. Aghast, how dare you rank this one at the bottom? Look, it is a really good album and I like it a lot. It's got a fantastic raw rock and 70s flavor. Just for me, the reason why this one comes at the bottom is there are a few songs, quite a few songs actually on it, which I think are just okay. Like, they're not bad, but just not brilliant. But yeah, what was interesting about this one is the Demon, Gene Simmons, sang the majority of songs on this one. That's not why I dislike it. In fact, I think he's probably my favorite lead vocal voice in the band. But it was just, yeah, some songs don't grab me as much. The other thing is, as you probably know, the sound on this album is pretty terrible. It sounds like it's being churned through a grinder or something, like really distorted, and like, in a sense, it gives it that raw flavor, but it could be a bit better, I think. And also the production was still a bit slow and pedestrian on this one, because it was their second album. So, But having said that, there are some great songs, like the opening track, Got to Choose, fantastic Paul song. It's got a brilliant 70s flavor. Yeah, just love that song. Track 2, Parasite. Now, I am a Ace Frehley fan. Like I said, Gene's lead vocals were my favorite in the band. Ace was probably my favorite musician and personality from the original lineup, but this is probably going to be blasphemy, but you know the song Parasite, it never grabbed me all that much, to be honest. Like, it's okay, like pretty cool riff, but it's just not, yeah, a massive favorite for me. And Gene, of course, sang that because Ace was too shy to sing at this point. Going Blind, that's another Gene song, which I don't like. It's just, you know, just like a boring, slow ballad, lyrically dubious as well. So yeah, I'm not really a big fan of that song. But Hotter Than Hell, a Paul song, absolutely fantastic. Strutting 70s rock, brilliant lead guitar work from Ace Frehley. And I know Paul and Gene were the primary songwriters, but I think Ace's fantastic guitar playing is what gave KISS their 70s sound. So I just love that song, Hotter Than Hell. Then we have another Gene song, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, which is good. It's got a 70s flavor. Again, not one of my favorites, so it's just okay. So maybe you're starting to get the idea where I think, yeah, some of these songs are pretty good, but just not among my favorites. Now, All the Way, majorly underrated song in my opinion. That's another Gene song, but just so catchy with the vocal patterns and the vocal melodies. And I love the guitar solos in this song. It just gives it that raw 70s flavor. You know, like Ace's guitar playing on that song is so good. So I love All the Way. Then what's next? What You Knew, another Gene song, which is got a very raw 70s rock vibe again. You know, like hard rock, influenced by the classics, which is really good. Then we've got Mainline, where the Catman drummer Peter Criss sang that song. It's very catchy. I love Peter's voice as well, so that's a really good song. Then we've got Comin' Home, another Paul song, which is extremely catchy again. Paul knew how to write hooky songs, that's for sure. And then it ends with Strange Ways, which was an Ace Frehley written song, but of course Peter sang that song. And yeah, that's just really dark, raw 70s rock. So you can probably get the idea that I do like this album. There are just a lot of songs which don't grab me that much. But if I had to say my favorite songs on this album, they would be Got to Choose, Hotter Than Hell, All the Way, and Comin' Home or Mainline. But yeah, good album anyway. So yeah, you can tell this is when they were really heavily influenced by the Japanese culture. They've even got, you know, with the layout, it's very Japanese. Just showing you the booklet here. So all the credits and the disc. Nice red one. And I got most of these CDs in the reissue phase, where with each album they give you a little blurb on the history of the album, which is cool. So you can sort of track the history of the band. See what I did there? But yeah, good album. Great 70s raw rock album, but there are just other ones that I think are better. This one just suffered from a lot of kind of okay songs and bad production. But anyway, still good stuff, Hotter Than Hell. All right, coming in at number 6. Okay, this is going to set the world afire, probably. Just going to take this out of its case. Drum roll. Yeah. So coming in at number 6, Destroyer from 1976. Now, I can already hear people say, oh, how dare you say this? This is an iconic classic KISS album. Yes, and I like it. Like I said, I like all of them. But there are just ones I like more. So this was the one which was produced by Bob Ezrin, you know, famous producer of Alice Cooper and other bands. So the band had already released Self-Titled and Hotter Than Hell and Dressed to Kill. Then they did the Alive album, which made them explode. So Bob Ezrin said on this album that he wanted the band to reach a wider audience, and that they certainly did with this album. So this has got that classic Ezrin production in the sense that everything's a big, grandiose stage show production, like a lot of classical instruments, orchestras, which I don't mind in itself, but it's sort of like, it is a step away from sort of raw rock, which was their origins anyway. But having said that, to Bob Ezrin's credit, the sound quality in this album is really amazing, like very polished, but not in an overly polished way. It's loud, it's clear, so it's absolutely fantastic. And there are some iconic songs, you have to admit, like Detroit Rock City is one of the most classic songs, like great riff in that. And interesting sort of flamenco styled guitar solo. King of the Nighttime World is another Paul song, really good. Again, just not one of my favorite KISS songs, but it is a good song. Then we've got track 3, God of Thunder, which is sung by Gene, of course, which is, I think, a song that Paul wrote for him about his character, you know, that demonic horror character. But God of Thunder, it's just classic 70s, like a 70s iconic song. Track 4, Great Expectations. That's interesting. That's kind of a mellow ballad sung by Gene. Kind of sexist lyrics in that, but you know, it's part of his image. But you know, they've got the choirs and the orchestra. As much as I hate to admit it, I always sing along when I hear that song. It's not bad, but like, again, it's not one of my favorite KISS songs. Now, the 2 tracks on this album, which I think are just massively underrated deep cuts for this band, are tracks 5 and 6. Flame and Youth, which is a Paul song, just absolutely brilliant, like an anthem to the power of youth, brilliant. And Sweet Pain, which is a Gene song, that just oozes 70s flavor. So I think 2 deep cuts on this album, which are amazing, Flaming Youth and Sweet Pain, check those out. Then of course, Shout It Out Loud, I don't need to say anything about that song, just classic iconic KISS again. Then we have also the ballad sung by Peter, which made this band really famous actually, Beth, which it's not one of my favorite KISS songs, but I can see why it became successful, because it's like a simple catchy melody and it appealed to the female audience because, you know, it's a romantic ballad and stuff. Like, again, not one of my favorite songs, but I always find myself singing along because it's easy. And the last track, Do You Love Me, which is again, you know, big pounding drums, 70s rock vibe on that. Like when I first heard that song back in the day, I thought, oh, this song, it's a bit silly, it's a bit simplistic, but trust me, it grows on you. So yeah, no really bad songs on this album, just the ones that don't grab me as much, I would say, are Great Expectations and Beth, but I still actually sing along to those songs. King of the Nighttime World is good as well, but yeah, my favorites probably Detroit Rock City, God of Thunder, Flaming Youth, Sweet Pain, Shout It Out Loud, and Do You Love Me? Yeah, so like I said, there's no KISS albums that I dislike, but there are just ones that I like more than this album. But yes, iconic. And just show you the booklet here. KISS Army, cool. And again, just the disc there. And with the reissues, there's the history of this album again. So it's good to follow those. I remember back in the day when I bought these, I was systematically following the history upon purchasing each album. So cool. Number 6, Destroyer. Okay, coming in at number 5 now. Another very good album by KISS. 1979's Dynasty. So this was the album which, you know, die-hard original fans labeled as kind of a sellout album. They said, oh, KISS released a disco album. Actually, not true at all. There's only one song on this album which is a disco song. That's the opening track, I Was Made for Loving You. And let's face it, a good song is a good song. Come on, admit it, it's a good song. Like, I know the original fan base, like I wasn't around at that time, but like, if you were following KISS since 1973, you might think of it as a betrayal, but so the hell what, a good song is a good song. And I have to admit, you know, before I got into this band properly, I Was Made for Loving You as a song that sort of introduced me to KISS because I heard it a lot on the radio. And guess what? I actually quite like the song. I really like the 70s flavor, especially Paul's falsetto vocals, the part where he says, I can't get enough, and it's really high. And I also like the use of synthesizers in that song. It just gives it that 70s vibe and flavor. And the drum fills and everything, and the chicka chicka chicka, the rhythm, the guitar solo. Hey, it's a good song. Then we have track 2 is 2000 Man, a Rolling Stones cover by Ace. He aces it because it's a brilliant song. The original version by Rolling Stones is all disjointed and annoying to listen to, but Ace made it his own. And by the way, because I'm not doing this in chronological order, this was the last album of the 70s. Ace hadn't sung on the earlier albums because he was too shy, but by this stage, especially after his 1978 solo album and Love Gun, he started to reach for the microphone for. So I really like Ace's voice. A lot of people say he can't sing, but I like it's original and it shows his character. So I like this song, 2000 Man, it's great. Then we've got Sure Know Something, which is kind of like a pop rock ballad, but so good. The chorus is really heavy, and again, it just has that 70s flavor, which I love. So Sure Know Something is fantastic. Then track 4, Dirty Living, Peter Criss sang that song, and this was the album. Peter the Catman, he had actually left the band already. He only played drums on this one song, Dirty Living, and he did the vocals of course, but the rest of the album, producer Vinnie Poncia thought he was not good enough to play, so he got ghost drummer Anton Fig on this album. But Dirty Living, A great sort of end note for Peter before he left the band. Then track 5 is the first Gene song on the album, Charisma. I love that song, just rocking, catchy, fun, great chorus. Yeah, Gene wrote some really catchy songs. Then track 6, Magic Touch, that's a Paul song. That's probably my favorite song on the album. Just got great atmosphere. Like with the riffs, they're so emotive, they speak to you, and I just really love it. The chorus is great. Yeah, the lyrics fantastic. And then we go into track 7, Hard Times, which is an Ace song talking about his tough upbringing, you know, as a member of the Duckies and being a member of a street gang, but such a good song. He really shines on that. And of course, Ace's lead guitar work on this album is brilliant. Then track 8 is another Gene song, X-Ray Eyes, which is very good as well. So Gene only, a lot of people complained like, oh, Gene only sang 2 songs on this album. Yeah, but he did a shitload on other albums, so it's good to let Ace take the mic for a bit. That's what I like about this album, is the diversity of, you know, the vocals on it. It's really good. But X-Ray Eyes is a good song, and then it concludes with yet another Ace song, so his 3rd one on the album, Save Your Love, which is brilliant. I really love the solo in that, you know, where he says so long. Yeah, so long, so good. Yeah, so I love this album, no complaints. Kind of iconic cover as well. So just show you the back here. And with this album, the production is really good, slick and polished, because it was done by Vinny Poncia, who was like a rock producer. But yeah, cool stuff. So mini poster of the band. Yep, and of course, KISS Army logo. It's funny, in the history of this album, the one I'm showing you on the inlay, the writer complains about how this album wasn't very good, and it's like, what? No, it's really good. But yes, it comes in at number 6 for me, only because there's other albums I like more than this one. So, sorry, no, it comes in number 5. Yep, so coming in at number 5, Dynasty. All right, so now we're getting to the top 4. All right, so in 4th place, from 1974, this is KISS with Dress to Kill. And what's funny about this one is I used to rate this one way at the bottom of the list, actually, because I thought it was a bit sort of primitive and thin sounding. But now I've come to realize what I like about this album is just that gritty, raw rock edge which the album projects. And this was when the band was, you know, ambitious and hungry, like they hadn't made it yet, and they were just playing their asses off. But just some fantastic songs, really great, catchy and fast songs as well. Like, one thing I noticed when I was listening to this recently, one thing I noticed about this recently is that Peter Criss's drumming on this album is amazing. Like, just the fills and everything, and the speed at which he's playing, it's fantastic. So, like I said, the production on this album is a bit raw and thin, but it gives it that authentic, gritty 70s flavor, you know, of a band which is hungry and ambitious and striving to make it. Yeah, so starts off with a bombastic song, Room Service. Funny lyrics in that song, you know, it's all about being a rock star and getting action. But yeah, just really fast, fantastic chorus. And on this album, you really hear the backing vocals blend with the lead vocals well. Two Timer is a great song as well. Great lead vocal melodies from Gene. And yeah, I really like that. Ladies in Waiting is a fantastic song as well. Like, again, it's another Gene song. Great vocal melodies. That's a song about groupies, I think. But the chorus is so good. It's just so hooky and catchy. And I know it's a bit sexist, it's about groupies, but the line I like in this song, like, there's one sexist line, which is, so you've been to the market and the meat looks good tonight. Like, quite sexist, but the line which is funny is, so you move on down the line, all the ladies are looking fine, so fine. So, yeah, sort of saying what they were about there. Now, track 4, Getaway, that's a song sung by Peter Criss, the drummer. Really good, short, sweet, and catchy, and I really like it, just upbeat, and it's really fun to sing along to, so I like that. Track 5, Rock Bottom, just an iconic, classic KISS song. That song, I don't understand, you know, like this band, in the last 20 years, they only focus mainly on 70s hits, but why did they overlook Rock Bottom? It's such a good song, like Paul Stanley's song. It was written by Paul and Ace, actually, so there's that initial intro where they're doing guitar licks and harmonies. It does go on for a bit long, like about 2 minutes. They could have chopped that in half, but it sort of builds up the anticipation, like wait for it before, I can't, you know, when the riff comes in. But that riff is so good. The chorus is great. Ace's solos are absolutely fantastic. like the melodies of Ace's solos, it's like the guitar is singing to you. So Rock Bottom, one of my favorite 70s KISS songs for sure. Then of course you've got Come On and Love Me, which is another Paul song. Very iconic 70s song again, and he writes the lyrics in these rhyming triplets, which are just so hooky and catchy. And great chorus, great backing vocals from Gene in that song, so I love that. Now, Anything for My Baby is a really good song as well. Like just the riffs, like dun, 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 like it sticks in your head. And Paul's vocals are fantastic in it. Love it. Now, track 8, the song She, that was a song that I didn't like so much in the beginning. But then my brother said it sort of reminded him of that Cheech and Chong song, you know, because of the riff. Dun, 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 dun. But it creeps up on you. It's a really good song. And the vocals are fantastic as well. Like that's a Paul song, but again, Gene's backing vocals are quite prominent. Oh, now Love of Her All I Can, another deep cut, but really good. Great vocals from Paul again, good riffing, and it's quite heavy, especially for the 70s. This was heavy stuff. Now, the album concludes with the song Rock and Roll All Night. Now, this is going to shock people, but to be honest with you, I've never been a big fan of that song. Like, that's always the song that the band closes concerts with. They say it's the rock and roll national anthem. Just for me, that song's a bit bland. No offense, like I know it was their big hit and it gave them their breakthrough and everything, but I remember even before I knew who KISS was, when I heard that song on the Dazed and Confused soundtrack, I was like, yeah, it's all right, but nothing great. But of course, it's become part of KISS's legacy. But what I do like is this version. It's the studio version where they got about 50 backing vocalists, including Peter's wife, Lydia Chris. Everyone, like, great backing vocals on it. It's a rawer version, different to the one, the live one sort of became the official one with the guitar solo. But Rock and Roll All Night, I can take it or leave it. But yeah, great album, great underrated album. So probably my favorite songs on this are Room Service, Two Timer, Ladies in Waiting, Getaway, Rock Bottom. Oh God, I'm just reading them all really. The only one I don't like so much is Rock and Roll All Night, but still good. But yeah, classic raw rock album. So just showing you the booklet here, that iconic photo in negatives. And I like the kind of black and white design on this as well. Cool. Just, it sort of matches the Spartan bare bones element to this album. History of the album. Yeah, so this was the studio album just before they became famous after the release of Alive. Okay, so we've done 7, 6, 5, 4. Okay, so coming up to the top 3 now. So you know what's left, but what am I going to choose? Let's see. Okay, coming in at number 3, we have KISS, the iconic self-titled album, debut album from 1973. So this is where it all started. I love this album. It's so good, like just so many catchy, iconic songs. I keep using that word, but it's just so true. Classic KISS right here. And it's got this raw vibe and sentiment and flavor, which I really like. The only thing that this album suffers from, because it was the early days again, just like Hotter Than Hell, it suffers from a kind of languid, pedestrian production. Like it could have been a little bit faster and more energetic, I think. But, you know, that was due to the production, I think, rather than the music itself. And then, of course, they rectified that on Alive. But look at this album. The first 4 tracks, bona fide classics. You've got Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin, all great songs. Like Strutter, that was one of the first KISS songs I heard as well, and I really like the post-chorus riff and lick in that. It's really good, like dan-dan, dan-dan. Very catchy stuff. Nothing to Lose, it was a song, when I first heard it, I absolutely hated it because I thought, it's got pianos, what's this shit? It's like oldies music, but it grew on me a lot. I know a lot of people hate that song, but Nothing to Lose is so catchy, especially with the chorus backing vocals, but even like Gene's main vocal melodies in the verses, it's fantastic. Excellent guitar solos from Ace, so Nothing to Lose is great. Firehouse, the next song, just so fun. I love the chorus in that again. And it's just so hooky and catchy with Paul and Gene singing that song. Great guitar work. Cold Gin is a song written by Ace, but sung by Gene. Awesome riff in that song. Excellent guitar solos. And of course, Ace, when he did his solo album, Origins 1, he re-recorded it with his own vocals. But I really like Gene's vocals on it as well, because at this stage, Ace was still too shy to sing. Then we've got track 5, Let Me Know. Great 70s flavor on that song. Like that's one of Gene's sort of like softer rock songs, but really like the vocal harmonies a bit, especially when they say, just gotta decide, girl, then let me know, oh, oh. You know that, but so good. And that, speaking of which, after that part, you know, it's dan, 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 it's got that badass raw 70s riff and guitar solo, fantastic stuff. Now this CD version, it has a bonus track at number 6, which is Kissin' Time, which is of course not originally written by the band. They did it as a kind of promo for this album. It's a kind of mediocre song, but it's still not bad. Like I always find myself singing along to it. And I think it was Paul, Gene and Peter who sang on that song, but I really love when Peter does his vocal cameo because it's just so raspy and raw in that classic Catman style. Yeah, Peter has a great voice. So Kissin' Time. And then we've got Deuce, or Deuce, however you say it. One of my favorite Kiss songs. I just love everything about that song. Lyrics, vocals, riffs, solo. It would probably be in my top 5 Kiss songs of all time. Like Deuce, absolutely classic. And that was a song which for many years they opened concerts with. And that was the song actually that when Ace was auditioning for the band, the trio said to him, oh, we're going to play this song called Deuce. Let's see if you can catch up. And he laid down the solo, and then as a 4-piece they were formed. But great song, Deuce. Then we've got Love Theme from Kiss, which is kind of, it's an instrumental, and it's kind of a bit sort of spacey and relaxed, but it sort of gives you a break from the hard-hitting raw rock you find on it. So not one of my favorite songs, but still it's like a nice listenable intermission. Then the next track is 100,000 Years, a Paul Stanley song, and again, maybe this is Kiss blasphemy, I'm not sure, but sorry, no offense, but the song 100,000 Years has never really done much for me. Like, I know Paul always made a big deal of it when they were playing it live, but just never grabbed me too much. But it's still okay. Like, with every Kiss song, it's at least catchy enough to sing along to. And then the album concludes with the absolutely brilliant Black Diamond, which was, of course, written by Paul. He does the introduction vocals, but then the lead vocals are handled by drummer Peter Criss, and they're just absolutely awesome. It's a really sort of haunting, dark track, particularly at the end, you know, with the guitar solo. I liked in the stage show where they did the part where, like, Gene and Paul were tilting and Ace would be on his knees, like, playing the guitar solo. Fantastic song. So Black Diamond, probably also in my top 5. Talking too much. Sorry about my enthusiasm. Black Diamond, one of my favorite Kiss songs. So, yep, so you see, this was in their formative years. You see, Peter's makeup was a bit different, and Ace had silver hair. Yep, so inlay there, and the disc, and of course, the history of the album. Yep, so great stuff. Like I said, this contains some of the greatest Kiss songs of all time on this album, and I really like the majority of songs. It just suffers from a somewhat languid production, but still an excellent album. So let's go through my favorite tracks even. Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin, Deuce, and Black Diamond. Yep, so 6 of the 10 songs. So that's coming in at number 3. That's Kiss's debut self-titled album, Kiss, from 1973. All right, so coming into the top 2 now. Drum roll, what's it gonna be? You know what's left. Coming in at number 2, we have Rock and Roll Over from 1976. So that's indeed the shirt I'm wearing. Now, this particular album, this used to be my favorite 70s Kiss album for sure. But then, I obviously realized that there's one that's a bit better. The reason I love this album so much is because of the track Love 'Em Leave 'Em, or Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. I think that is such a brilliant song. Got an amazing 70s flavor. That's probably my favorite 70s Kiss song of all time, Love 'Em Leave 'Em. But one song, which is really brilliant, doesn't quite carry this through to be the best album in my opinion, but it's absolutely fantastic. Like, this was when the band was like a well-oiled machine, like they just coming off the success of Destroyer, they released this one, and they were going back more to their hard rock and roll roots. But So many iconic songs on this. This album oozes 70s flavor and character. It's absolutely brilliant. Got some of the band's best songs. Like, it starts off with the Paul song, I Want You. Just love that song, nothing to say. Great riffs, great solos, everything about it. And then Take Me, which is another Paul song. That's a good one. Not one of my favorites, but it's got that good 70s flavor again, so I really enjoy it. Then track 3, Calling Dr. Love. That's a famous Gene song, you know, like kind of slow to mid-pace with that chugging riff, but with the female vocals in the chorus, it's just so 70s again. I really love that song. Even though I've heard it millions of times, I still love that. Then coming up next, Ladies Room, another Gene song. Again, just that is so 1970s, it's not funny. Like, such a great song. And great pre-chorus, great chorus. It's just, you can't not sing along to that song, Ladies Room. It's so good. And I always like when the band performed that song live, like Gene in all the makeup, he used to, you're such a jewel in the rough, you know, doing the point. It's so good. I really like it. And track 5, Baby Driver, which is a song sung by Peter Criss. Just raw hard rock with Peter's trademark raspy vocals. Absolutely fantastic. Then I said, going over to track 6, Love 'Em, Leave 'Em. That's my favorite 70s KISS song of all time. Just that riff, like, so catchy, like, dun, 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 dun. And like, it's just oozes 70s flavor. I know that's my catchphrase for today, but I just love it. And that's a Gene song, incredibly catchy. And Ace's guitar solo in that song, Love 'Em, Leave 'Em, is absolutely fantastic. You know, it's got that dun, 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 like he does that guitar effect at the end, but it's so good. But if you watch the unofficial video clip of that song, that sort of encompasses everything KISS is about. So, Love 'Em, Leave 'Em, I think it's a song about groupies again. I'm not, you know, sharing the sentiment or the message of that song, but it's just musically, it's absolutely fantastic. Then, what's next? Mr. Speed, another classic 70s song, and sung by Paul, but like with the backing vocals, it gives it that 70s flavor. And yeah, just another great KISS song. What do we have next? See You in Your Dreams, another Gene song. See, every song on this album, this is the quintessential 70s flavored KISS album. Just so good. But yeah, See You in Your Dreams, another one. Like, it just makes you imagine being at a party in the 70s, you know, like that opening line, the party's over and baby's in the corner, she's all alone for the night. Like, you picture this house party in the 70s. Cool. And then the last track, Makin' Love, sort of, that's a Paul song, like raw and aggressive, and it's sort of taking influence from Led Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love riff-wise. But yeah, it's really good, like a sort of harder, faster track, great guitar solo, so absolutely fantastic. As you can tell, most of the songs on this are my favorites. So, this cool cover, we have this, broken cover, there's the disc, and of course, the history. Yeah, so, like I said, this used to be my favorite 70s KISS album, hands down, but as I listened to one other over the years, it made me realize that it was actually better for me. So coming in at number 1, you all know what's left if you're a KISS fan. Coming in at number 1, Love Gun from 1977. So this album came out in 1977, when the band was sort of at the peak of their success. So Destroyer was where they Alive and Destroyer, where they broke through, and Rock and Roll Over in this one, they were at the peak of their fame and, you know, selling all the merchandise and everything. What's interesting is about this album, by this stage in their career and fame, personal relations in the band were kind of at an all-time low. But it's not reflected in the music at all, because this album just seems so collaborative and brilliantly done. So it's got the rawness of Rock and Roll Over, but just with some added spice and diversity. And like, they really achieved that in spades on this album. It was also the first KISS album to feature all members performing lead vocals on songs. So until this point, this was 1977, on the previous albums, chronologically, Ace hadn't sung any of the songs. Like, he always turned them over to Paul or Gene to sing, but he sang Shock Me on this one, and Peter sang Hooligan, so all 4 members singing on this album. This is when the band wasn't really heavy metal, but maybe by 70s standards, they were to a degree, but like a lot of the songs on this are just really hard hitting and fast. Like the opening track, I Stole Your Love, like when it just bursts into that song, it's hard and heavy and aggressive. That's a Paul song, great catchy chorus in that, and good solo as well. Then track 2, Christine 16, that's a Gene song, and it's interesting because they use piano, but it has a very sort of like happy melody, and it's got a 1970s flavor. Like lyrically, that is a dubious song, just like Going Blind, so hasn't aged well lyrically, but musically it is a fun song, Christine 16. Then the next track, Got Love for Sale, underrated deep cut from Gene. I just love the raw rock and roll vibes on that. Great guitar solos as well, but like Gene's vocals just really shine on it. Then of course, track 4, Shock Me, which was the first song that Ace sang. Great riff in that, and again, just got that 70s flavor, which I enjoy so much. Great guitar solos, so that was sort of showing Ace coming out of his shell. But like I said, a lot of people say he can't sing, but I really like his voice, and it imbues the songs with his own character. So Shock Me is a great song. Then we've got Tomorrow and Tonight, a Paul song. Got a very 70s flavor as well. That was essentially a reprise of Rock and Roll All Night, but when you... I just like the chorus, it's so fun, and they also have the female backing vocals in it as well to give it that like 70s kind of flavor again. So Tomorrow and Tonight, another underrated deep cut. Then the title track, Love Gun, you know, like that opening riff, it's just so iconic. You all know, and fantastic chorus. I love the backing vocals and everything. Love Gun, it's got to be one of the quintessential KISS songs, hasn't it? Then track 7 is Hooligan, which is performed, lead vocals are performed by Peter in that, with his trademark raspy vocals, but awesome solos in that song. It's just like a hard, gritty song, which is good because, oh sorry, I forgot to mention on Rock and Roll Over, I missed out on a track which was Hard Luck Woman. That was a ballad sung by Peter, you know, with acoustic guitars, sort of in the vein of Rod Stewart. It is a good song. And he had also sung Beth, but on this album, he sings like a straightforward rock song, like a hard rock song, Hooligan, which is absolutely fantastic. Excellent backing vocals and chorus in that song. Almost Human is another great Gene song, very underrated and a deep cut. And then track 9, also a Gene song, Plaster Caster. I just love that song. It is so fun. Everything about that song, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, guitar solos, and you might have heard me mention before, back when I was a teenager, I hadn't discovered KISS yet, but when I bought this Lemonheads album, Creator, they had a song on it called Plaster Caster, which was actually them covering KISS, but this was the 90s, man, before the internet, so it just said Plaster Caster, Simmons. I didn't even make the connection that it was a KISS song, but when I heard that Lemonheads cover, I really liked it, and then I heard it on this album years later. I thought, so that's where they got it from, but brilliant stuff. Love the guitar solo in that. It's so fun. So Plaster Caster is probably one of my favorite songs on the album. And yeah, just a really, really fun song. And coming up to the last track, Then She Kissed Me, which is a cover of a classic, which was originally sung by a woman in the 1940s or 50s. But yeah, it's a Paul cover, and a lot of people say this is a weak track and it's a disgrace, things like that. But because Paul has such a great singing voice, I have to admit I really love this song. The vocal renditions, like the way Paul sings it, I always find myself singing along, singing my heart out. It's a nice catchy song to finish the album. So yeah, no bad songs, but probably my favorites, if I had to say on this one, yeah, probably Christine 16, Got Love for Sale, Shock Me, Tomorrow and Tonight, Love Gun, Hooligan, and Plaster Caster. But yeah, the majority of them, no bad songs. So there you go. And I love the inner design here. Bang! The Love Gun. Cool. And I've got something to show. I own some of these albums on vinyl. There's a cool little collectible in that one. So there's the disc. And talking about the history of the band. So there you have it, guys. That's my ranking. So not showing them in chronological order, but from my least favorite to most favorite. So yeah, just to reprise, because I stuffed up something there. Coming in at 7, Hotter Than Hell. 6, Destroyer. 5, Dynasty. 4, Dress to Kill. 3, Kiss. 2, Rock and Roll Over. And 1, Love Gun. So there you go. So like I said, I haven't included solo albums or live albums. I'll do those in a separate video. But tell me, what do you think of these KISS albums? Tell me your ranking if you're interested. And remember, don't bite my head off if I put some albums at the bottom that you should think be at the top. We all have our own opinions. But yes, shit, been going on for 40 minutes now. I will edit some of this out, but there were 7 albums to talk about. It is my favorite band. So hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I will be back again soon. I'm not sure what I'm going to do in the next video, but I'm going to do another discography ranking for 80s KISS, which I think is a really underrated era of the band. But I've kept you long enough for today, so thanks very much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of the channel. By the way, I recently saw that my subscriber count went to 500, and I celebrated and said, yay, thanks very much, everyone. But then I looked like a right twat because someone unsubscribed, so it went back to $4.99. But it's getting there, and I really appreciate everyone's support. So remember, I know KISS is a band which divides a lot of metal fans. Like, a lot of metal fans love KISS, a lot hate them, but I really like them, love them in fact. So yes, if you don't like KISS, you don't have to unsubscribe. Just wait till I show something you like. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.